Welcome back to day 4 of the OOP series. Today we're settling something most Python devs get wrong for years. You've been writing methods with self since day 1, but Python actually gives you 3 flavors: instance, class method, and static method. Each has a specific job, and mixing them up is the difference between code that reads like a junior wrote it and code that reads like a senior did. By the end of this lesson, picking the right one becomes automatic. Here's the map for the next 10 minutes. 4 outcomes: instance methods as your default workhorse, class methods as Pythonic factories like from dict or from db, static methods for utilities that just live near the class, and a 3-question decision tree to lock the choice in. That last one's the real prize. 30 seconds, 3 questions, senior calibrated answer every time. Before we break them apart, see them together. One user class. All 3 method types living side by side. Greet uses self. It needs a specific user. From dict takes CLS and builds a new instance. That's your alternate constructor. Is adult, age, takes neither. Just a utility that happens to belong here. Same class, 3 jobs, 3 signatures. Lock that shape in your head because everything from here is just sharpening the choice. Start with the one you already know. If your method touches self.anything, it's an instance method. No decorator, no ceremony. And really, every instance method is doing one of 3 things: reading state, writing state, or computing something from state plus arguments. Is overdrawn reads, deposit writes, can afford computes. That's the whole pattern, and it covers 80% of what you'll write tomorrow. Now the second tool. Here's the problem ish in it. Can't solve. It takes one fixed shape of arguments, but real data shows up in many shapes. A JSON dict, a CSV row, a database tuple, or sometimes nothing at all. That's where a class method earns its keep. Instead of self, you get CLS, the class itself, and you call CLS to build a fresh instance. 3 named constructors, 1, init, key, and bonus. Because it's CLS and not user, subclasses get the right type for free. On to the third tool, and honestly, the most misused one. A static method is just a function bolted onto a class. No self, no CLS. It earns its place when the logic is tightly coupled to the class, like user is valid email, which in it and itself calls. But if it's just a generic utility that happens to live inside a class, that's a smell. Pull it out, make it a module-level function, and your code gets simpler immediately. So here's the decision tree. 3 questions asked in order, and you stop at the first yes. Does the method touch self? Instance method, done. No? Then does it build new instances? A factory? That's your class method. Still no? Does it logically belong with the class but use neither self nor CLS? A static method. Run this sequence a dozen times and it stops being a checklist. It becomes a reflex. Once that reflex kicks in, layer these 6 habits on top. Default to instance methods. 80% of the time, def m self is the right answer. Use a class method for alternative constructors like from dict or from CSVA, and always call CLS. Never the class name, so subclasses still work. Type hint the return as a forward reference to the class. And if your static method isn't actually coupled to the class, just make it a module function. Finally, don't overload init, ship a factory instead. Cleaner API every time. Here's the whole lesson on one screen. 12 patterns, 3 method types. Pin it somewhere. Left column is the class method track, def m CLS, returns an instance called as user from dict. Middle is static method. No self, no CLS, just a namespaced utility like user.isValid. Right is your default, instance methods, called on the object, covering 80% of what you write. When in doubt, glance back here. Now the failure modes, 5 things seniors flag instantly. 1. Sprinkling a static method everywhere to look tidy. If it's not coupled to the class, it's a module function, not ceremony. 2. Hard coding user inside a class method instead of CLS that quietly breaks every subclass. 3. Reaching for a class method when you never touch CLS. 4. Writing def from dict class D and forgetting the decorator above it. Now, CLS is just a positional arg waiting to bite you. And 5. Calling user.greet or on the class when greet needs self. Catch these in your own code before someone else does. Time to put it in your hands. 3 exercises. First, take the user class from yesterday and add all 3 method types. Greet from dict is valid email. Run them, watch the call sites, feel why each decorator exists. Second, grab 5 real method signatures from any codebase and score them against the decision tree. You'll confirm the 80-15-5 split yourself. Third, the class method proof. Build from dict with hard-coded user. Subclass it, watch it break, then swap in CLS. And watch polymorphism click into place. And that's lesson 4 locked in. Instance methods, class method, static method, and a decision tree you can actually use under pressure, that's a senior-level toolkit. Tomorrow, we go deeper into the object model with inheritance. When extending a class is the right call, when it's a trap, and why Python's MRO is one of the few inheritance systems that genuinely make sense. See you in Lesson 5.